Welcome to STEAM on the Trails. Today we are going to talk about animal tracks and how to create plaster casts of those tracks from their imprints in the soil. But first, we humbly acknowledge that the Wissahickon Environmental Center stands and works in the unceded ancestral indigenous territory of the Lenape people, who were and continue to be active stewards of these lands. While we recognize that this land acknowledgement is not enough, we aim to uphold Indigenous visibility and sovereignty for individuals and communities who live here now and for those forcefully removed from their homelands. By offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm Indigenous sovereignty and will work to hold Parks and Recreation and the Wissahickon Environmental Center accountable to the needs of Indigenous peoples.
I'm Susan Haider. I'm an environmental educator at Cobbs Creek Park, but I'm here today in the Wissahickon with...
It's Christina Moresi, and I'm the environmental education planner at the Wissahickon Environmental Center.
And we are going to do a little adventure and craft project today, kind of a craft project, kind of a science project. We are going to go look for animal tracks, and we're going to make plaster casts of the tracks. Today is our first day where the temperature is below freezing, like really below freezing. It's about 25 out here. And when we came to look for tracks, instead we're finding ice crystals. So the water that was in what had been mud is the water has risen as little ice crystals, and the soil has actually like come up in chunks with it. So this might make it difficult for us to find tracks today.
Susan is now mixing the plaster. So we found our track. The rock is on top just because of the wind. But we found our track. We have our ring on it. And now we're going to mix 2 parts of the plaster to 1 part water.
You want to start with the water and mix the plaster into the water.
And you're going to do this at the site because the plaster will harden pretty fast, so it wouldn't cast. But once it's in the mold, we then have to wait about 20 to 30 minutes for it to be completely solid and removable.
You have to stir it till you get out all the lumps. Should be the consistency of the pancake batter. But no blueberries. Looks pretty good. Have the plaster kind of in pancake consistency. Might be a tiny bit thin, but we're going to pour it into here. And the ring is to, if it were to be a warm day, it might move out more. It's supposed to contain it. I'm finding it's so cold we can't get the ring in the soil to really contain.
All right, so we are back outside. This is over a half hour later, but it should only take 20 to 30 minutes to set. So Susan is going to dig up the track. So the plaster should be set and hardened, and then digging it up.
The ground is frozen today, so can't get the shovel in very much, but
all right.
Okay, looks like we have
there it is. Susan is cleaning off our second track with the toothbrush and the water in a bowl. Again, you could do this with just the sponge in some cases. Some other cases you might need sandpaper. It really depends on how your track came out, the quality of the mud or the soil. On less freezing days, perhaps the mud will be smoother, and this would have came out smoother. But with anything in nature, it's perfectly imperfect. Our tracks are done being cleaned. The plaster went into every crevice of our choppy soil, so it is kind of hard to tell the exact shape. But the way the hooves are, they're pointed in the front. There's two hooves, round in the back, pointed in the front, and you could see the split in the middle.
So, and then some people describe it as a heart shape, and this shows you the front foot and the rear foot. This is little circle can be from the other toe on the front foot.
We finished the castings of the deer tracks that we found outside on the trails of the Wissahickon. We identified them as white-tailed deer. We found a more clear track print in our archives at the center. And while getting that, I also saw that we had a deer hoof or deer foot leg actually upstairs with the rest of our collections. And you could see more clearly how the hoof has the same shape here. The white on it is borax, so it's been sitting in borax. And I can't remember why we do that, but preserve it. But we have a lot of random things like this around here. So definitely, if you have any questions about anything, tracks, animals, anyone at the Wissahickon Environmental Center, Cobbs Creek Community Environmental Center, or Pennypack Environmental Center can help you, because these are the things that we have at work.
it's not uncommon when you work at an environmental center to find animals that have passed away. It could have been naturally, it could have been from a car accident, and that's what the case is here. So we only take this because for educational purposes. So this leg, obviously it had broken a leg here, and this was found and then kept to preserve it, and you know, for a reason like this one, we can tell you more about what a deer looks like.
Continuing off trail, we notice that there are a lot of deer tracks. The deer travel in herds, so you're going to notice that there are a lot going back and forth in different areas. There will be scat, and there might even be places where they have sat to rest. Susan and I are back from creating our casts. We cleaned them off. We identified them as white-tailed deer. Here are some other tracks and examples of other animals that you will find in the Wissahickon.
So this here is our fabulous raccoon, and as you may know, raccoons have amazing front feet with toes that almost like a human hand. So sometimes you'll see the track and the fingers are extended. And it's pretty cool. So this book tells us that the animals are called, that these kind of animals are called animals with padded feet, as opposed to hoof feet like the deer.
All right, next we have our groundhog or woodchuck. We are very familiar with this. It runs through the neighborhoods, gardens, the forest, meadow. They are everywhere. And they have kind of, I'm going to think more traditional digging paws or feet for digging. So we have the front and then the back. You can see they have longer nails. And then they dig out their burrows, and a pretty complicated system underground where they have their nap space, their snack space, and their bathroom space.
And then we're going to move on to canine footprints. Okay, so canines are our dogs, our foxes, our wolves, canine-like creatures at least, and coyotes. So here we have a red fox, which is very common in Wissahickon and our other parks in the cities, as well as outside of the city. And this is an imprint of a coyote, which is a bit bigger than a fox. And we think these are also made to be like a coyote footprint. So with your canines, the pads are kind of longer than wide, and you probably you get the nail marks too, oftentimes in the print.
Next, we're going to talk about the gray squirrel. The gray squirrel is very common throughout the park system and our neighborhoods. They have tinier little tracks. And they hop in the pattern where the front feet are in the back and the back feet are in the front, sort of making the letter V. Squirrels stay up in the wintertime, so you will find these tracks in the snow as well as the mud. Here's another track that we found in our collection. It's kind of crazy what it is, the nails, the texture, how big it is, but we actually have this track right here with us. And that is Crush, the snapping turtle. So as you can see, Crush's feet, they get big. Snapping turtles get very big. So while he looks like his little baby feet, Crush might be about maybe 2 years old. He's not that old, but he's getting big and heavy. And these would be his tracks if we were to find him wandering through the mud. But we are going to put him back because he is a snapping turtle and we don't want him to snap.